LWO1 WeatherNet. Liftoff conditions looking pretty good.
The STS is ready for launch.
Ignition. Liftoff.
Falcon 9 has cleared the tower.
Ten, 9, 8,
Side booster ignition.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition and liftoff.
Impulse pitching downrange.
Stage 1 chamber pressure is nominal.
We are T plus 43 seconds into flight. Falcon 9 has cleared the tower. Prepare for max Q at around the T plus 1 minute and 12 second mark. Max Q is where the vehicle will experience the highest amount of aerodynamic pressures.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
All is looking good with the stage 1 trajectory. In about a minute, we have 3 events coming up in quick succession. First up is main engine cutoff. That's where the 9 engines on the first stage will shut off, followed by stage separation, where the first and second stages will separate from one another. Shortly after that, we'll have second engine start 1. The Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage will ignite its engine and continue its journey into orbit.
Max Q.
And we've just passed max Q. That is a really cool tracking shot of Falcon 9.
MVAC engine chill has begun.
We're about 20 seconds away from main engine cutoff, the start of those 3 events happening in rapid succession.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
Coming up in a few seconds, we should have the fairing deploy. A couple of views on screen right now. On the right-hand side is a view of the second stage, specifically the MVAC engine. It's currently in the first of its 2 MVAC burns. This burn should last for about another 5 minutes or so.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And there you can see the 2 fairing halves have separated and fallen away from the vehicle. And on the left-hand side of the screen is a view from the top of our first stage looking down. The next milestone for the first stage will be its re-entry burn. Falcon 9 needs to execute an entry burn to slow itself down before hitting the dense parts of the atmosphere. Without this burn, relying on the atmosphere alone to slow Falcon 9 down will put unnecessary strain on the rocket. For those just joining us, this is the Transporter-1 mission for SpaceX, the first dedicated SmallSat Rideshare Program mission, and it's also the 3rd mission of 2021. And in just a few seconds, we should be hearing the call up for second engine cutoff. We're at T plus 3 minutes and 30 seconds into flight. We'll be shutting off the second stage Merlin vacuum engine and enter a small coast phase. Again, we'll need to relight this engine
Also signal stage 1, Cape expected.
later on in the mission to get to our eventual destination in orbit. The second stage has shut down its engine, and that entry burn is coming up just a few minutes from now. You'll start to notice those honeycomb-like structures on the left-hand side of your screen start to move and pivot. Those are our hypersonic grid fins. You can see some periodic bursts of gas from the first stage. That is nitrogen from our attitude control systems.
Stage 1 FTS is safe.
They help to orient the first stage as it continues to make its descent back towards Earth. We are about 45 seconds away from that stage 1 entry burn. For the entry burn, it is a 3-engine burn, so 3 of the 9 Merlin engines on the first stage will relight and start to slow the stage down before it hits the denser parts of the Earth's atmosphere.
Second stage and terminal guidance.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And you can see on screen the entry burn has concluded. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to be attempting to recover the booster for a 5th time.
Nominal parking orbit insertion.
On our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. The first stage has one more burn left, the landing burn, and it begins just before we touch down and provides the booster with a soft descent before we land. And we did get confirmation of the second stage that it did reach a good parking orbit. That should be starting up anytime now.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
LOS stage 2, Cape Canaveral expected.
And Falcon 9 returns safely once again. That is the 5th time for this particular booster and the 73rd recovery of an orbital class rocket. We're now going to coast for the next 45 minutes or so while we wait for SES-2. We're going to leave you with an animation that shows you where we're at in the coast phase, and we'll see you back here at the T plus 54-minute mark. Welcome back to the Transporter-1 mission. If you're just joining us, Falcon 9 lifted off at 10 a.m. Eastern from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, had successful stage separation. We landed our first stage on our drone ship and successfully completed our first second stage burn. We are waiting to relight that engine for the second and final burn. This burn will be a quick one, lasting only 2 seconds. And we're expecting that burn to start in just a few seconds here. And there is second engine startup and then cut off. Now we're waiting for confirmation of a good orbit on that second stage.
Nominal payload orbit insertion.
And there's the call out that we want. That is a confirmation of a good orbit. Next up will be the deployment of our 133 spacecraft on board the mission. And as a reminder, today's mission is the first dedicated SmallSat Rideshare Program mission.
Port C4 and C1 deployment sequences initiated.
Those callouts. The deployment sequence has started for 36 of Planet's Super Doves on port C4, as well as the 17 spacecraft aboard Kepler's port on C1. And as a reminder, today's mission is the first dedicated SmallSat Rideshare Program mission.
Aft-end payload deployed.
We created this program to provide small satellite operators with regularly scheduled rides on board Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, and in the not-too-distant future, Starship as well. The next call-out will be to start deployment sequence for our customer NanoRacks around the T plus 1 hour and 8-minute mark. We're going to leave you with views of the deployments for Planet and Kepler, and we'll see you back here at the T plus 1 hour and 7-minute mark. Welcome back to the webcast for Transporter-1, SpaceX's first dedicated SmallSat Rideshare Program mission. We're now waiting to hear that the deployment sequence has started from port C3 for the 9 spacecraft for NanoRacks EAR-1 mission. For the 9 spacecraft for NanoRacks
deployment sequence initiated.
EAR-1 mission, and there's the confirmation for the 9 spacecraft. We're expecting to get confirmation that these have completed deployment in about 8 minutes from now once we pass through our ground station blackout period, so stay tuned for that.
Also signal Bangalore as expected.
Next up, we're expecting to get the confirmation that the 36 of Planet's Super Doves have deployed, as well as the 17 spacecraft aboard Kepler's port.
Deployments confirmed on ports C3, B3, C5, B1, and C6. Port B2 deployment sequence initiated and confirmed. Port A4 deployment confirmed.
So we did get some confirmations. We should have some more call-outs happening in just a few seconds here, and I'll summarize once all of the call-outs are done.
Port A2 deployment confirmed. Port B2 deployment sequence complete.
It sounds like we've gotten all the callouts. I'm going to go ahead and recap all of the different ports. So from port C3, the NanoRacks EAR-1 missions 9 payloads have deployed. From port B3 and B2, the Transporter-1 spacecraft deployed with 2 ICE-I radar imaging satellites aboard.
Port A2 deployment confirmed.
And Exoport-2 with 28 spacecraft from the DLR ICE-I Nano Avionics Swarm and TU Dresden began its deployment. From port C5 and C6, deployed 1 SmallSat each for our customer Capella.
Port A4 deployment confirmed.
From port B1, the Spaceflight Incorporated customer's IQPS satellite has also deployed.
Port B2 deployment sequence complete.
And that will conclude the rideshare portion of the mission. Coming up, we'll have the deployment of our 10 Starlink satellites. It's going to be the first set of Starlink satellites deployed to a polar orbit, and that should be happening in about 30 seconds. And there's a view of the second stage. That right there is a view of the Starlink satellites to the right-hand side. It looks like we lost a signal on the second stage. Hopefully we can get that back. If we don't have views of the second stage.
Partial data back from New Hampshire.
And there goes the 10 Starlink satellites, the first set to go to a polar orbit. With those 10, that is 143 spacecraft deployed on a single mission, the most ever. Pretty awesome. With that said, that will be bringing our webcast to an end. We would like to thank all of our rideshare customers for their support on today's mission. We'd also like to thank the United States Air Force for range support, as well as the Federal Aviation Administration for licensing. Continue to follow us on SpaceX.com for future missions and milestones. Thank you to all of our viewers for your continued support, and have a wonderful rest of the day.